Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with author and Afterlife Consultant Curtis W. McCalister. He is a 66-year-old Kansas City native who graduated in the top 10% of his class from Winnetonka High School in 1976. He earned a bachelor's degree from the University of Central Missouri in 1980. He worked for Grainger from 1984 to 2009, amongst various other positions. Over his life, he has witnessed many miracles and divine signs. He is also in the process of launching a new venture, Afterlife Consulting, reflecting his deep engagement with spiritual themes. It's all in his book. Enjoy. So it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. So let's get into your life. And before we do, I want to know, 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out this pandemic. How long is it going to last? How are we going to get out of it? How did you ultimately make it through that pandemic period? And how did it affect the way that you do things now?
During the pandemic, I actually came down with it, and I was laid up for like 3 days, and after that, everything was fine. I made it through okay, just like everybody else, and I've been getting the shots ever since.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do for a living today. And even before being an author, if I was to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids at career day and one of the kids was curious and said, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How would you answer that child?
Well, I'm actually retired. I'm disabled too. I've got an unusable right arm. Can't raise it, but yeah, and I've got an artificial shoulder too. But that I'm doing okay. I'm making it. Get out and play golf every once in a while, but I just mostly stay home and just watch TV or do some reading, that kind of thing.
So let's go back to when you were a kid in the third grade school. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh man.
Uh,
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I really don't know. I guess I had thought maybe I'd get married and maybe have some kids or whatever. But I got married, but I never had any kids, so that's too bad there. But anyway, you know.
yeah. So talk to me a little bit about your childhood growing up in Kansas City, and ultimately, where did your career go? How did things transpire?
Well, I spent 24 years working at Grainger. Um, and I really enjoyed that job. I've had a bunch of other jobs since that time, but I've had some injuries and various things, and so, but yeah, it's just a life of work, and then I had all these miracles happen to me. One when I was growing up, age 13. That was my first one.
So talk to me about that first miracle. What happened?
Well, my folks and I were driving back from Liberty, Missouri, back home, and we were going south on I-35, and we were rounding the Glen Eyre curve, and something made me look to the western sky. And what I saw was a Greek-style temple completely made out of clouds floating in the sky. It had a hipped roof. It had 10 columns on its long axis. I counted them. 2 on either side of the massive front doors. Had 2 steps in front, was flat on the bottom, and it just floated along like it belonged there. So I immediately thought that was the Temple of Solomon. I'd never seen what the actual temple looked like. But anyway, Yeah, I wish that I had a camera at that time too. It'd been nice.
Yeah.
But um, but anyway, I saw that thing, and so I figure that that is the way that Father God likes to go around checking the things that He's made. And I'm thinking that maybe if I ever see it again, He might decide to take me along with Him.
So,
You never know.
so at the end of the day, were you a believer at that point when you saw that? I mean, have these miracles been kind of divine intervention for you to validate your level of spirituality, or how would you quantify this miracle and other ones that you've encountered?
Well, I'll tell you, I've had so many happen to me, and the things I know now, I mean, it has really raised my spirituality, my faith. Okay, my faith is really, really strong right now. I'd say it's above the stratosphere with the things I have seen, the things I know to be true about the other side.
So, what have been some of the other miracles? How did those, just a few others? We don't want to give too much away from the book, but what have been a few others that have been very foundational for you in the way that you approach life and believe and the way things work down here?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, um, some of the last two were seeing my mom and dad alive again as kids. Let me tell you, I saw my mom first. Of course, I didn't know it was her at that time. It took a number of years for me to figure that out. But anyway, I went to the Barnes and Noble store looking looking for a book, and as I was riding the escalator up, I uh, I heard this loud girl's voice, very loud, almost obnoxious. And I was wondering what is she yelling about? What's going on? Anyway, I went around, I found a book, and I started looking around for chairs and everything, and I never found any. They were all taken. So I decided, well, what the heck? I'll just read the book in the aisle, just sit down in the aisle. So that's what I did. And at that time, this girl come around the corner. She had a heavy winter coat, earmuffs, a scarf, and a hat. And with the earmuffs on, it's no wonder she couldn't hear anything. I mean, it was after Christmas. It was wintertime. And um, she grabbed a book, and then she did the craziest thing. She sat down right next to me. I mean, right next to me. I couldn't believe it. I mean, normally, under normal circumstances, a girl the age of 15 or 16 would never sit down beside a 56-year-old guy who she didn't know, right? So it had to be my mom. It took years to figure that out. She even sounded like mom would at that age. Dad, on the other hand, Dad, I knew almost immediately. Um, it was a Sunday. I was at church, and the minister was starting his sermon, and that's when I had to go to the bathroom. No laughing. But anyway, yeah, I finished my business and I was washing my hands, and all of a sudden the door opened, and I heard this guy's voice say, "Oh, so that's what you look like now." I almost didn't recognize you without hair because he had never seen me bald before. I had shaved off my hair back in 2010, and this was like 2016 early, and yeah, I was kind of pondering this guy a little bit. I never really spoke to him. Um, I, I looked at his reflection in the mirror and I saw really bright light above his head. And I was trying to figure out, even thought to myself, why is it so bright up there? Why is it so bright around his head? And well, anyway, when I dried my hands off, I excused myself and went out and went back into the sanctuary. But this guy, he was like 19 years old. He had white hair, very white hair. And he also had a light blue shirt and dark blue slacks. And I thought his outfit looked very familiar to me, but also, I think what clinched it was the hair. Dad told me some years before he passed that he had white hair before he turned age 21. And he also told me that um, that he let's see, darn it. Kind of lost my train of thought there. Well, anyway, I'll tell you, when I get back in the sanctuary, I got to thinking, oh, yeah, the clothes he was wearing, that's why they were so familiar, is because those were the clothes he was buried in. We had picked out, my aunt and I had picked them out and everything. And anyway, yeah, by the time I got back in the sanctuary, I almost fainted when I was about to sit down. Mercy's sake, I thought to myself, oh my God, that was Dad. It occurred to me, I put two and two together, and because I had actually prayed to Dad for his help because I was very, very upset, very, very kind of nervous. Things weren't quite going, right for me and everything, and I thought maybe he could give me a hand. You know, I never actually thought it'd be him to show up in the flesh, but yeah, he was flesh and blood, the same as my mom was. You know, they were solid, they were corporeal. Um, they weren't ghosts. And that is what led me to believe and to understand that everyone who has passed is young again, and they're alive and well. They have a flesh and blood body on the other side. But that body can also exist here as well as there. And that's what I've discovered. I found out the truth about the other side.
That's fascinating. So, who's been kind of a hero or role model for you in your life?
Oh, man. Well, Dad was, I guess. He was in the Second World War. He never got injured or anything, thank God. Um, but yeah, he served in the Army, combat engineers, and so you know, I was really proud of Dad. Really
Yeah.
happy for what he did and everything.
So, in your life, of everything that you've done and overcome and the miracles that you've seen, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
I'm sorry.
What are you the proudest of? This life that you've led and everything you've seen and done, what are you the proudest of?
Hmm. Um, Boy, that's a tough question. Um, I would say offhand that it's probably because of all the miracles that I've had and that I have actually written a book about them.
So,
Uh,
Yeah. So everyone out there has a perception of you, an idea of who they think you are. Family, friends, everyone that reads your book, but you ultimately lead the charge. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I don't think um, that I'm a prophet or anything like that. I might be, a visionary, seer, but other than that, you know, I don't know because I don't get messages sent to my head or anything like that. But um, I it's kind of hard to put in words, actually.
No, I think you did good. I think you did good. So let me ask you this. If you could go back in time and see anything in human history with your own eyes,
Hmm.
any human event, where would you go? What would you love to have seen with your own eyes?
Well, I would have loved to have met George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. Like to have seen that. I'd like to have seen the pyramids of Egypt at the time when they were built and everything. See some of the pharaohs. There's a lot of things I'd like to see. Like to.
So I got another question about seeing miracles. Sometimes I'll talk to people that are mediums that can see the other side and see things that are happening. Do you
Uh-huh.
feel like your mind has been open in a different way? How do you think that you've been able to channel these visions and miracles that you've witnessed?
Hmm. Um, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just maybe it's just luck of the draw. Maybe I was just the right person at the right time. I don't know. It's hard to say. And that's been one of my basic questions from the get-go. Why did Father God ever choose a sinner like me to give miracles to? I don't understand it, and I probably never will until I get to the other side. But I, you know, that's been one of the biggest things, biggest questions of mine. Why me? Because I'm not perfect. I mean, nobody's perfect. I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe, I thought maybe, well, perhaps I'm related to somebody on the other side. I don't know, you know.
But
Uh,
at this but at this point in your life, being alive as long as you have and seeing as much as you have, do you feel like with this book, it's your duty to talk to people about the possibility of, miracles and seeing things? What's kind of your mission with this book and putting this out there for people?
well, I've been trying to start a business, but it hasn't gone anywhere yet. But I I was wanting to counsel people who have had a loved one pass and let them know the truth that they're alive and well on the other side and they get to choose the age they want to be. Even babies and young kids who die get to grow up on the other side to be whatever age they want to be. And I would say most of the people up there are probably between the ages of, say, 15 and 27, something like that. I don't think you'll find anybody old up there.
Right. No, I wouldn't think so. So, Curtis, if any, I gotta know, living in Kansas City, a lifelong Kansas Cityan,
Huh?
what's the best thing about living in Kansas City?
Hmm. Oh man. Well, I mean, I'm close to uh, parks and we got Worlds of Fun over here. It's close. We've We've got attractions. We've got the Kansas City Zoo, and well, there's a lot of fun things to do.
Yeah,
A lot of good places to go to do things.
for sure. So the book is The Miracle of Me and My Life of Miracles. If
Uh-huh.
anyone wants to pick up a copy, reach out to you, learn more about anything going on in your world, where can they go?
Oh, well, they can go to Atticus Publishing, Atticus. They can go to Amazon. It's available in both paperback and hardcover. It's also on ebook. It's available on audiobook and also on Kindle. So
Excellent.
it is out there. It is available. Please check it out. It's really short, very small book, only about 30 pages max. But it's the content, the information that I want to give you is, very realistic. It's very there. I want people to see it, to understand it. And I want it to help them internally, especially if they're grieving, if they're hurting. This book will answer your questions, a lot of them.
Excellent. Curtis, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time, and continued success. Best of luck with the book.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.